When you review films online, or have an opinion in general, it makes you susceptible to criticism, and it's safe to say I've already had the fair share of that on my channel. And it's completely fine if you disagree with my takes, and please do voice your opinion, but don't be a dick about it, guys. I know the vast majority of you guys are great, and it's only a few people doing this really. The issue I've found, particularly with reviewing older movies, is people's nostalgia comes into play, and if that helps you look past the film's issues then that's fine. Nostalgia is the best argument I've heard against my reviews so far. As said before, almost everyone is nice about it, but let me give you guys a life lesson. When you try and debate anything in life, the second you bring feelings into it, it often gets messy. And that's why it's one of the unspoken rules on YouTube to never talk about religion or politics. This movie may not be perfect, but it's part of my childhood that you're crapping on, dickwad. This is what I mean when I say people bring their emotions into it. Feel free to call me all the names under the sun. I've been on YouTube for a long time, and I've heard it all before. I've never seen this movie, but it just seems like you didn't give it a chance. It has average 2006 children's film humour, but oh no, adult man doesn't like it. Let's talk shit about it on the internet. I don't typically criticise film reviews, but I've seen better. It just seems like you're looking for things to be mad at. And the only thing worse than the movie's humour is this video's editing. Okay, I mean this is just one of the dumbest comments I've ever seen. You haven't even seen the film for God's sake. How can you assume I did anything when you haven't seen the movie? People like to claim I didn't give a film a chance when I don't like it. I don't have to like the movie, guys. I mean, fair enough they don't like my editing. I'm just interested in why. That's the issue with these people, guys. They'll just degrade me without even explaining themselves. And the cherry on top with this one is the adult man part. That's a bit sexist, no? I guess I'm an adult man, guys. I'm not allowed to review anything. It's a kids movie and it did a great job entertaining me as a child with the silly jokes. For the record, can people stop making the argument of it's just a kids film? It's the most tired and bullshit argument on the internet for film reviews. A good kids story appeals to everyone, guys. Of course I'm not going to shit on something like the Teletubbies. But stuff like The Wild is clearly trying to appeal to everyone, and it fucking failed miserably.
Who put that there?
This guy don't understand anything about cinema or CGI, and he thinks he is the cool movie critic hating on old children's movies. I know nothing about cinema, do I? Have you seen my Letterboxd? And yeah, I do think I'm this cool movie critic. I should just change my name to Cool Movie Critic. Alright, so people want to see me like a film, because I clearly hate on everything just to be cool. Okay, I'll explain to you guys why the original Shrek is one of the most influential animated films of all time. And for the record, guys, if someone disagrees with me, then that's okay. So, in the animation realm, I'd argue only two other films have been as influential as Shrek, at least in the past 30 odd years. But what exactly made Shrek so refreshing and so great? I think that it's important to realise just how messy the production of Shrek was. The film was considered being made as far back as 1991, when Steven Spielberg of all people was interested in adapting the original 1990 book. This film would have had Bill Murray as Shrek and Steve Martin as Donkey. That would have been incredibly different. Bill Murray was great as Garfield, to be fair, so I'm glad he wasn't cast as Shrek.
You have any regrets?
Garfield, maybe?
This next turning point was very important in the success of Shrek, and I don't think that the film would have been the same if it wasn't for this. So the story goes that the co-director of Shrek, Andrew Adamson, wanted to have the film appeal specifically to adults, as he wanted it to have a lot of sexual jokes, and also to include a Guns N' Roses soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, I know it's just a couple of ideas, but it makes it sound like Shrek could have been an edgy film just for the sake of being edgy, and not because there is a clever satire behind it. I'm so glad they didn't go down this route, to be honest. DreamWorks co-founder Jeffrey Katzenberg argued that the film should appeal to both kids and adults, which is definitely what we got in the final product. There seems to be more of a balance of humour that everyone can find funny, whilst also having some clever adult jokes. What's also interesting about this movie is that during the production of Shrek, animators who failed working on other DreamWorks projects such as The Prince of Egypt were often sent to work on Shrek. They coined this term as being shreked and being sent to the gulag. This is real information, guys, I'm not joking. And for the record, I personally think that Shrek is a much better movie than the other DreamWorks films in production around that time, so I wouldn't call it a punishment, to be honest. So as you guys may know at this point, the original actor that was hired to voice Shrek was the legendary Chris Farley, who was a famous comedian in the 90s for his roles on Saturday Night Live. He recorded most of his lines for Shrek, but sadly passed away in December 1997. An audio of Farley's version of Shrek was leaked online years later. So after Farley was gone, Mike Myers was recast, and using his iconic Scottish impression, he got down the voice of Shrek we know and love today. I love Mike Myers and he absolutely crushed the role, but it's a shame that Farley couldn't finish the movie. He was a very broken guy with a lot of critically panned films, and this could have been the one that changed his career. So, after a very eventful production, Shrek was finally released on the 18th of May 2001 in the United States. The film was a smash hit, earning almost $500 million on a $60 million budget, and was beloved by critics and audiences alike. It was so liked that it was the first film to win the Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, winning against Pixar's Monsters Inc. It's hard to explain just how refreshing a film like Shrek was to audiences at the time. I wasn't even alive when the movie was released, but I do get the sense of just how different this film was. Shrek was released at a time when people were used to seeing squeaky clean Disney films, including whimsical stories and characters breaking into song at every chance they get. Around the time Shrek was released, Disney were just at the end of their Renaissance period, where they released constant hit after hit. They were the kings of animation. Nothing could touch them. The DreamWorks co-founder Jeffrey Katzenberg actually used to work at Disney in the 90s, but left after some disagreements. And at least in my opinion, until Shrek there wasn't really anything that DreamWorks released that could touch the quality level of Disney. Ants and El Dorado weren't that great, and Chicken Run and the Prince of Egypt were decent, but nothing amazing in my eyes. So for Shrek to come along and be the anti-Disney movie, and to also do amazingly financially and critically, is a monumental achievement in animation. Shrek is actively mocking Disney right from the first scene. You think it's going to be another standard fairy tale story, but Shrek laughs at that thought, and wipes the book page with his ass. He literally wipes the idea of Disney with his ass. Then to add insult to injury, the movie opens with a pop song, and not just any pop song, but All Star by Smash Mouth. This again solidifies the rebellious nature of the movie, as it rejects the idea of a musical number. This was such a ballsy move by DreamWorks, as this could have easily gone down as tone deaf and edgy for the sake of being edgy. But the song and its lyrics so brilliantly fit the tone of the movie, that it's one of the most iconic movie openings ever. And Donkey, the funny annoying sidekick, is always completely shut down whenever he tries to sing. And how about this scene where Princess Fiona literally kills the bird by singing? It's just brilliantly subversive. The world in general is very mean-spirited in Shrek, and the Shrek rip-offs that came after this completely missed the point on why it worked in this movie. The reason why the town being so mean-spirited works is because ogres have always had a negative connotation around them. It's only when he opens up to other outcasts like him does he show his true colours. This great heart and emotion in Shrek is what is severely missing in other films like Shark Tale and Chicken Little. And Shrek was also clever, as it did actually take some aspects from the other Disney films. Beauty and the Beast is a great example of a movie that already did the misunderstood monster character arc. This shows that you don't have to reinvent the wheel again, but if you put a fresh spin on things, audiences will be satisfied. There is something great about giving people what they want, while also changing little aspects. And this is exactly what Shrek did. People still got the fairy tale world, but in other ways it was very different to what people were used to. The digs at Disney, such as making Lord Farquaad look like the Disney CEO Michael Eisner, is priceless, and the real meaning of his name makes it funnier. Jeffrey Katzenberg was definitely not over the whole situation. And the Disneyland ripoff that is Duloc is just as funny, and it doesn't come off as forced at all, as it's naturally put into the story. That's the issue with all the films after it. They just try to be like Shrek, without considering what made that film so great. I promise you guys, I'm not hating on these other animated films just for the sake of hating them. I'm just showing you guys that when done right, these films can be absolutely fantastic and stand the test of time. I also think the performances really shine through in this movie, particularly with Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, and that's because of their witty dialogue and great execution of their performances. This was the main crutch of the film working in my opinion, as we spend so much time with them, so if the humour didn't work the film would get tiring very quickly, but thankfully it doesn't. Overall, I think that Shrek is one of the greatest and most influential animated films ever made, with fantastic characters, witty humour, and great heart that is so badly missing from the later Shrek rip-offs. I love this movie guys if you couldn't tell. There, I did it. First Class Junk does have a heart. I can enjoy animated films when they're done right. It's just a shame that a lot of them are awful. Oh well, it's normally more entertaining to poke fun at something anyway. I hope you guys understand me now. Ah, screw it, I'm gonna piss you guys off again. I genuinely think that The Prince of Egypt is overrated, and The Road to El Dorado is first class junk. Take it away, Siskel.
It's junk. First class junk.